They say your wedding day is the happiest day of your life. Mine became the day I learned what cruelty truly looked like. Chioma stood frozen at the altar, her hands trembling as 200 guests stared at her in silence. The wedding hall in Gangnam was magnificent, all crystal chandeliers and white roses, but none of that mattered now. Her groom, Tae-sung, had just stepped back from her, microphone in hand, his face twisted with disgust. "I can't do this," he announced to the entire ballroom. His voice echoed off the marble walls. "Look at her. My parents arranged this marriage, but I won't marry someone so plain, so ordinary." Gasps rippled through the crowd. Chioma felt her face burning, tears flooding her vision. She reached for him, desperate. "Tae-sung, please. Don't do this." He pulled away from her touch like she was diseased. "You're a brilliant accountant, Chioma. I'll give you that. But you're not the woman I want to wake up next to. You're not beautiful enough for my future. Find someone who settles." "I won't." He dropped the microphone and walked away, leaving her standing alone in her white hanbok-style wedding dress. The guests whispered, some already pulling out their phones to record her humiliation. Chioma's legs felt like water. She couldn't breathe, couldn't think. This was supposed to be the beginning of her life, and instead it was ending in front of everyone she knew. Then a voice cut through the chaos like a blade. Deep, commanding, absolute. "Then I'll marry her." Every head turned. A man walked down the aisle with the confidence of someone who owned the world. He was tall, sharp-featured, dressed in a black suit that probably cost more than Chioma's entire wedding. His eyes were dark and intense, fixed only on her. "That's Kong Min-jun," someone whispered nearby. "The CEO of KMJ Industries. I heard he controls half the shipping routes in Asia." "I heard he's dangerous," another voice hissed. "Connected to people you don't want to know about." Min-jun reached the altar and looked at Chioma, not with pity, but with something that made her heart stutter. Recognition. Desire. Possession. "The venue is paid for," he said calmly to the officiant. "The guests are here. Let's not waste it." Then he turned to Chioma, and his voice softened just slightly. "Marry me. Right now. And I promise you, no one will ever humiliate you again." If you're already hooked by this story, hit that subscribe button and drop a like. Trust me, you won't want to miss what happens next. Chioma stared at his extended hand. Her mind was screaming that this was insane, but her heart was pounding with something else entirely. Hope. Possibility. Revenge. "Who are you?" she whispered. "Someone who's been waiting for you to be free." She took his hand. It was warm, strong, certain. The officiant looked confused but continued the ceremony in a daze. Within 15 minutes, Chioma had gone from abandoned bride to married woman, and she didn't even know her husband's full name. The reception was surreal. Min-jun's people had somehow taken over everything, directing guests, serving food, making it seem like this had been the plan all along. Tae-sung had disappeared, probably too humiliated himself to stay. Chioma sat next to Min-jun at the main table, hyper-aware of his presence beside her. "Why did you do that?" she asked quietly, so only he could hear. "Eat first. We'll talk later." His hand covered hers on the table, warm and reassuring. "I know you have 1,000 questions. I'll answer all of them. I promise." That night, she found herself in a penthouse overlooking the Han River, still wearing her wedding dress, still trying to process that her entire life had changed in a single afternoon. Min-jun had brought her here, shown her to a bedroom, and told her to rest. He hadn't touched her beyond holding her hand, hadn't demanded anything, just said they would talk in the morning. But Chioma couldn't sleep. At 2 in the morning, she found him on the terrace, staring out at the glittering city below, a glass of whiskey in his hand. "I need answers," she said. He turned to face her, and in the moonlight, she could see how handsome he really was. Sharp jaw, intense eyes, a mouth that looked like it rarely smiled but could probably devastate her if it did. "I've known about you for 6 months," he said. We attended the same charity gala last winter. You were volunteering in the kitchen. I watched you make sure all the staff ate before the guests did. You were laughing with them, treating them like family. You didn't know I was watching, but I couldn't look away. Chioma's breath caught. She remembered that night. She'd been so happy, so in her element, feeding people and making them smile. I started following you, Minjun continued, and it should have sounded creepy, but somehow it didn't. Not physically. Just keeping track. I watched you tutor children in Itaewon for free every Saturday. Watched you defend a junior accountant when your boss tried to fire her for a mistake that wasn't her fault. You have something rare, Chioma. A pure heart in a city of sharks. And I wanted you. So you waited until my wedding day to claim me? Her voice shook. I waited until you were free. He stepped closer, and she could smell his cologne, feel the heat of him. I knew about the arranged marriage. Knew that Tae-sung was a spoiled child who didn't deserve you. I was prepared to let you go through with it if you seemed happy. But I saw your face when you were getting ready this morning. I have people everywhere, Chioma. I saw you crying in the bridal suite. Saw you trying to convince yourself you could love him eventually. And I knew I had to act. You're insane, she whispered, but she didn't move away. Probably. His hand came up to cup her face, thumb brushing away a tear she didn't realize had fallen. But I'm also completely obsessed with you. And I'm patient enough to wait until you feel the same way about me. What if I never do? Then I'll spend my life trying to earn it. He leaned closer, his lips almost touching hers. But I don't think that's going to be a problem. He kissed her then, soft and devastating, and Chioma felt something inside her crack open. This stranger who wasn't a stranger. This dangerous man who looked at her like she was precious. She kissed him back, her hands fisting in his shirt, 6 months of loneliness and self-doubt pouring out of her into this moment. When they finally broke apart, both breathing hard, Min-jun rested his forehead against hers. I'll never hurt you, he whispered. I'll never make you feel small. You're mine now, Chioma. And I protect what's mine. The morning sun woke Chioma in a bed so soft it felt like floating on clouds. For a moment, she forgot where she was, forgot everything that had happened. Then memory crashed back and she sat up, heart racing. She was married. To a man she barely knew. A man who'd kissed her like he was drowning and she was air. She found Min-jun in the kitchen, cooking breakfast. The domestic sight was so unexpected she almost laughed. This powerful, dangerous man was making pancakes, his sleeves rolled up, completely focused on not burning them. You cook? She asked from the doorway. He looked up and smiled, and it transformed his entire face. I have many hidden talents. Sit. Eat. Then I'll show you your new life. Over breakfast, he explained everything. His business empire that stretched across Asia. The legal parts involving shipping and real estate. And the not-so-legal parts he wouldn't fully detail but admitted existed. I've made enemies, he said quietly. Dangerous ones. Being with me means accepting that risk. Why are you telling me this? Chioma asked. Why not just keep me in the dark? Because you're not a pet or a trophy. You're my wife. My partner. And I won't lie to you, even if the truth might make you leave. His eyes met hers, vulnerable in a way that didn't match his dangerous reputation. Will you leave? Chioma thought about her old life. The tiny apartment. The job where she was overlooked and underpaid. The arranged marriage to a man who saw her as an embarrassment. Then she looked at Min-jun, who'd seen her at her lowest and still chose her. No, she said. I won't leave. But I want to learn. If there's danger, teach me how to face it. His smile was proud and possessive all at once. Come with me. He took her to a private gym in the building. For the next 2 hours, he taught her basic self-defense. How to throw a punch. How to break a hold. How to use an attacker's weight against them. He was patient but demanding, pushing her past what she thought she could do. Again, he said when she landed a weak hit to the practice pad. Like you mean it. Like you're fighting for your life. Chioma thought about Taesung's face when he rejected her. Thought about all the time she'd been overlooked, dismissed, treated as less than. She threw the punch again, harder, and felt something fierce wake up inside her. Yes, Minjun breathed, catching her hand. Exactly like that. You were never weak, Chioma. You just needed permission to be powerful. Their faces were close, both breathing hard from exertion. He pulled her against him and kissed her, deep and hungry. She melted into him, feeling desired in a way she'd never experienced. His hands slid into her hair, tilting her head back so he could kiss down her throat. Minjun, she gasped. Tell me to stop and I will, he murmured against her skin. Don't stop. He lifted her, and she wrapped her legs around his waist as he carried her back to the penthouse. They made love slowly, carefully, Minjun treating her like she was something precious and breakable and infinitely valuable. Afterward, lying tangled in sheets, Chioma felt like a different person. Claimed. Wanted. Powerful. The next week passed in a blur. Minjun took her shopping, buying her clothes she protested were too expensive until he kissed her quiet. He introduced her to his right-hand man, Jin Woo, who treated her with immediate respect and warmth. He took her to meetings where powerful men looked nervous in his presence, and she began to understand the full scope of his influence. Then one afternoon, he drove her to Hongdae and stopped in front of a small cafe property with huge windows and a perfect kitchen. What is this? She asked. Yours. He handed her the keys. You once told a friend you dreamed of opening a bakery. I heard about it through my research. Was it true? Chioma stared at the keys, then at the space, then at him. You bought me a bakery? I bought you the building. You'll create the bakery. Your dream, your vision, your rules. I'm just providing the canvas. He pulled her close, kissing her forehead. I want you to have everything you've ever wanted, Chioma. Starting with this. She cried then, happy tears, and kissed him until they were both breathless. I love you, she said, and meant it with her whole heart. His eyes darkened with emotion. Say it again. I love you, Minjun. He kissed her desperately, backing her against his car, not caring that they were on a public street. I've loved you since the moment I saw you, he said between kisses. Every day since. You're everything, Chioma. Everything. For 3 perfect weeks, life was a dream. Chioma worked on her bakery during the day, Minjun handled business, and at night they came together like magnets, unable to keep their hands off each other. She was learning his body, his moods, his rare smiles. Learning that he liked his coffee black, hated mornings, and had nightmares he wouldn't talk about. Then Jin Woo burst into the penthouse one evening, his face pale with fear. Minjun was reading contract papers. Chioma was testing cake recipes. The normalcy shattered instantly. Sir, we have a problem. Yoon Se-jin knows about her. Minjun's entire body went rigid. The papers fell from his hands. When? His people have been watching the penthouse for 3 days. They know she's your weakness now. Chioma felt ice flood her veins. Who's Yoon Se-jin? Minjun turned to her, and for the first time since she'd known him, she saw genuine fear in his eyes. A rival. Someone who's wanted me dead for 5 years. He runs the drug trade I've been systematically destroying. He's ruthless, Chioma. He won't hesitate to hurt you to get to me. Then what do we do? I'm sending you away. Tonight. Jin Woo will take you to a safe house in Jeju Island where... No, Chioma stood up, her heart pounding but her voice steady. I'm not running. I'm not hiding. You promised to teach me to face danger, so teach me. We face this together or not at all. Minjun crossed to her in 2 strides, gripping her shoulders. You don't understand what this man is capable of. He killed my sister 3 years ago just to send me a message. I can't lose you, Chioma. I can't. She saw the raw pain in his face, the old wound ripped open. She cupped his face in her hands, making him look at her. Then don't lose me. Keep me close. Let me fight beside you. I'm not her, Min-jun. I'm not helpless. You taught me that. He pulled her into a crushing embrace, his face buried in her hair. If anything happens to you, I'll burn this entire city down. Then make sure nothing happens to me. That night, they made love with a desperate intensity, like they were trying to memorize each other. Min-jun whispered promises against her skin, told her everything she meant to him, made her come apart in his arms over and over until they were both exhausted and clinging to each other. I need you to promise me something, he said in the darkness. If things go wrong, if Se-jin gets to you, you run. You don't try to be brave. You don't try to fight. You run and you call Jin-woo and you let me find you. Promise me. I promise, she whispered, though she wasn't sure she meant it. 2 days later, Chioma was in Busan scouting a location for a second bakery. Min-jun had insisted Jin-woo and 2 other guards accompany her, but she'd convinced them to wait outside while she explored the empty cafe space. She wanted to envision it alone, to dream without an audience. That was her first mistake. The black vans surrounded the building so fast she didn't have time to scream. Armed men poured through the doors, and Chioma tried to fight like Min-jun taught her. She landed 2 solid punches, broke one man's nose, but there were too many. A bag went over her head, zip ties cut into her wrists, and she was dragged into darkness. When the bag came off, she was tied to a chair in an abandoned warehouse that smelled like salt and rust. The man standing before her had a scarred face and cold eyes that held no mercy whatsoever. You must be Chioma, Yoon Se-jin said, circling her like a predator. The woman who made Kong Min-jun soft. Do you know what he did to my operations? He's cost me billions. Turned my own people against me. And all because he suddenly developed a conscience. He's going to kill you, Chioma said, keeping her voice steady despite her racing heart. Se-jin laughed. Let him try. I've been waiting for him to care about something again. To have a weakness I could exploit. And here you are, gift-wrapped and delivered. He pulled out a phone and made a call. When Min-jun answered, Se-jin put it on speaker. I have something that belongs to you, Se-jin said. There was a pause, then Min-jun's voice came through, deadly calm. If you've touched her, I will make you beg for death. Such passion. Come to the old shipyard in Busan. Alone. Unarmed. You have 2 hours, or I start cutting pieces off your pretty wife. The line went dead. Se-jin smiled at Chioma. Now we wait. But Min-jun didn't take 2 hours. He took 40 minutes. The explosion that tore through the warehouse's east wall was so sudden that Se-jin's men barely had time to raise their weapons. Min-jun came through the smoke like a demon, flanked by 20 armed men, moving with lethal precision that spoke of military training Chioma never knew he had. The gunfight was brutal and quick. Min-jun moved through Se-jin's men like they were nothing, taking them down with cold efficiency. When he reached Se-jin, who had grabbed Chioma and pressed a gun to her head, Min-jun didn't hesitate. He shot Se-jin's hand in one fluid motion, the gun clattering away. Se-jin screamed and Min-jun was on him, beating him with a fury that was terrifying to witness. Blood splattered across the concrete floor. Se-jin's face became unrecognizable. Min-jun's knuckles split open, but he didn't stop. Min-jun. Chioma screamed. Stop. You'll kill him. He froze, chest heaving, fists bloody and raised for another strike. He looked at her and something human came back into his eyes. He dropped Se-jin's unconscious body and ran to her, cutting her free with shaking hands. Are you hurt? Did he touch you? Tell me. His hands ran over her frantically, checking for injuries. I'm okay. I'm okay. She threw her arms around him, feeling him trembling. You came for me. Always, he whispered into her hair. I'll always come for you. Always. Jin-woo and the others secured the scene while Min-jun carried Chioma out, refusing to let her walk. In the car back to Seoul, he held her so tightly she could barely breathe, his face buried in her neck. She felt wetness on her skin and realized he was crying silently. "I thought I lost you," he said, his voice broken. "When I got that call, I thought I was too late. That I'd have to live in a world without you in it. I'm here. I'm safe. Because of you." She pulled back to look at him, wiping his tears away. "You saved me. I put you in danger in the first place." "No. Seijin put me in danger. You ended it." She kissed him softly. "It's over now, isn't it?" "It's over," he confirmed. "Seijin's entire operation is destroyed. His allies are scattered. There's no one left to threaten us." That night, back in their penthouse, Min-jun couldn't stop touching her, reassuring himself she was real and whole and his. They made love slowly, tenderly, healing each other with every kiss and caress. Afterward, he told her everything. About his sister's death. About the guilt he carried. About the darkness he'd lived in before he saw her laughing in that kitchen. "You brought me back to life," he said, tracing patterns on her bare shoulder. "I was just existing before you. Going through motions. Building an empire but having nothing worth protecting. Then I saw you, and suddenly I had a reason for everything." 6 months passed like a beautiful dream. Chioma's first bakery opened in Hongdae to massive success. Lines wrapped around the block. Food critics raved about her pastries. Min-jun stood in the back during the grand opening, watching her shine with pure pride on his face. Then Tae-sung appeared one afternoon while she was closing up. He looked smaller somehow, diminished. His family's company had collapsed, the news had reported. He'd lost everything. "Chioma," he said quietly. "I came to apologize." She wiped flour from her hands, studying the man who'd humiliated her. She felt nothing. No anger, no satisfaction, just indifference. "I was cruel," Tae-sung continued. "I was stupid and shallow, and I threw away something precious because I was too blind to see its value. You've become everything I knew you could be, and I hate myself for not being the man who helped you get there." "I accept your apology," Chioma said calmly. "But I don't forgive you. You taught me something valuable though. You taught me that I deserved better. That I was worth more than settling. So thank you for that." "Can we?" "No. Whatever you're about to ask, the answer is no. I have a husband who sees me, who values me, who would burn the world down to keep me safe. You had your chance and you threw it away. Now leave. Please." Min-jun appeared in the doorway as Tae-sung turned to go, his presence immediately commanding. He didn't say a word, just wrapped an arm around Chioma's waist and stared at Tae-sung until the other man left. "You okay?" Min-jun asked softly. "Perfect," she said, and meant it. 1 month later, they stood on a private beach in Jeju Island. The ceremony was small, just Jin-woo and a few close friends, but it was real in a way their rushed wedding hadn't been. Chioma wore a simple white dress, Min-jun wore linen, and they exchanged vows with the sunset painting the sky gold and pink. "You saved me," Chioma said, tears streaming down her face. "But more than that, you saw me. You gave me space to save myself. You made me brave. You made me human again," Min-jun said, his voice thick with emotion. "You made me believe in something other than power and revenge. You made me believe in home." They kissed as waves crashed behind them and their small audience cheered. That night at dinner on the beach, Chioma took Min-jun's hand and placed it on her stomach, her heart racing. "We're going to need a bigger place," she said softly. He stared at her, confused, then understanding dawned. "Are you?" 10 weeks. She was crying and smiling at the same time. "We're having a baby, Min-jun." He lifted her off her feet, spinning her around, laughing and crying at once. He kissed her desperately, his hands cradling her face like she was the most precious thing in the universe. Later, they walked the beach in the moonlight, his hand never leaving her stomach, talking about baby names and nurseries and a future that seemed impossibly bright. "Do you ever regret it?" Chioma asked. "That day at the wedding, taking a chance on me." Minjun stopped walking and turned her to face him. "That was the first real decision I'd made in years. Everything before was just strategy and survival. But choosing you, that was my heart overriding my head. That was me finally living instead of just existing. So no, I don't regret it. I'd do it again in every lifetime." He kissed her under the stars, and Chioma thought about that girl standing alone at an altar, humiliated and broken. She'd never thanked Tae-sung for what he did, but she could acknowledge that his cruelty had led her here. To this man. To this love. To this life she never could have imagined. They say your wedding day is the happiest day of your life. They were wrong. Every day after was happier. Every morning waking up next to Minjun. Every moment building their empire together. Every kiss, every laugh, every quiet evening at home. That was happiness. That was love. And now, with their baby growing inside her and their future stretching out bright and beautiful, Chioma finally understood what it meant to be truly seen, truly valued, truly loved. If this story touched your heart, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe for more powerful love stories. And comment below to let us know where you're watching from. We love hearing from you all around the world. Until next time, remember that the right person will see your worth even when others are blind to it.